that. Yeah, so
Orange man in numbers is 88. Trump. Orange is 60. Man is 28. Added together is 88 Trumps. It's all coded. Yeah. How long do you think? So you said there's going through the egg timer. You've got. Did you say A and G timelines? Is that what you said, Gene?
yeah, the Arma line, the Book of Arma, you know what I mean. Book of Revelations talks about that. The last war,
Okay.
where the earth is seared by fire, and the sun and the moon turn blood. The sky goes black as sackcloth, and the moon turns blood red. It's what happens when you go into a photon belt, and the sun goes out, and then it goes super. It has a CME, it has a super ejection, coronal mass, full coronal mass ejection. It's the perfect description of it. And then this wave of fire hits the earth, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the sun, if you understand what the sun really is, which isn't what they're telling you, how does the sun really do what it does? So, that goes into the electric universe. People can research that and understand that the sun is primarily not a nuclear furnace. It's actually it's Birkeland currents that create the energy the sun uses, and it's a harmonic oscillator. It's a resonant device, and it's vibrating now already at fourth and fifth density. It's already split into two suns. There's the fourth, fifth density sun that's in a higher density or a greater density, and then there's the third density sun, which is the yellow sun. And so, it's to understand how the sun is working and how creation works. And, again, it's not dimension, because dimensions are height, width, depth, and time, two dimensions of time. And then you have a physical dimension of height, width, and depth, one that goes inwards to the singularity that's within everything, which creates quantum entanglement. So we're in 6 dimensions on third density. And then as you increase the amount of information and light, and you get more dense. So you jump to the next octave of density by going to fourth density. And you have all the dimensions we have, and you pick up 2 more. And then you go to fifth density, and you pick up 3 more at fourth and 2 more at fifth. And so you have different dimensions while you're changing density. You can't say fourth dimension, fifth dimension, because the dimensions are delineated by the density, not the other way around.
Oh. And then the G line what's that?
God's line. The line that people are doing their very best to be in service to God's creation, each other, and everything, in the highest interest of everything everywhere. The one and only God of all creation is everything.
So the God line is a peaceful transition, and the
Yes.
A line, the Armageddon line, is a destructive one.
Violent and destructive, and you have a limited time frame, but until all life comes to an end on the third density Earth.
Wow. Talking of, you said we haven't got much time. In your feeling and understanding, estimation, what do you think in terms of the length of time that we have until we get to that point of the split, where some will go to the God timeline and some will go to the A timeline?
Well, people talk about, the baby boomers, Generation X, Generation Y, whatever. Okay, the various it's within the generation we are now in. I would say it's most likely, I think extremely likely in my understanding, within this generation. But again, I can't say very accurately to a date or a year, because the years have been so messed with in the calendar.
Yeah. So generation, thinking kind of generation, a 20 year?
Generations, I guess, are somewhere between 20 and 30 years. I don't know. It depends on how you delineate a generation.
Okay. Wow. What was that gentleman's name? I think his name was Bill, that he did a piece with Kerry Cassidy. It's been edited into many forms and versions, but he talked about the singularity and said, however they look at it, it's coming to this point and you can't stop it. What was his name? Bill. I think his name was Bill.
Not sure who you're referencing, sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah,
Singularity of AI becoming absolutely aware and intelligent like we are? Is that what singularity you're referring to, or the singularity that's to me?
I think it was, yeah, it was the good singularity. It was, I think he used the word singularity. I might be misquoting him, but he was describing this ultimate thing in the cosmos, that we get to this juncture where things, the outcome is the good outcome is achieved, and nothing can stop it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and I want to remind people that what you choose to believe as absolutely true for you will be true. It's like you look at when Captain Cook first went to the Hawaiian Islands. They even took, this is what I said, you can't prove anything to anybody who cannot believe it. They
yeah,
even took the native Hawaiians on the ships. They went into catatonic shock because in their mind you could not build something that big out of wood. All they had were dugout canoes.
yeah.
One piece from one tree. That's it. They had no way to have a boat, a ship made out of wood that big. But the shaman could see the ripples. So later on, the shaman constantly meditating or remote viewing it saw it, and within the time he came back again, then shortly all the other people could see it, because the people who are at the cutting edge of where the truth is, that are viewing it constantly and contemplating it at a deep, deep level, to let go of the box their head's in. And it's this cognitive dissonance sets in. And so if you are absolute that the Arma line, I'll just go ahead and say it, the Armageddon line is the only line. There is no Nasara. There is nothing but this burn and this in war, and we're in that time, and everything's going to burn, and everything's. Then that is, if that's absolute for you, then that is absolute for you. That is your choice. You're asking God for you to experience, and everybody that resonates with you will go to that. And what does that look like? That looks like attacking everybody everywhere, because that's what Armageddon is. That's what you're looking of, everybody turning on everybody. You can't trust anybody. You can't do anything. Everything's burning and on fire, and the dead are rising from the ground. And it is literally, the
Hell,
underverse merging with the surface, where everything comes together, and all of this death and destruction. It is horrific beyond comprehension. And you're going to come to Christ during that time? Wow. Man, you choose a hard path, but that's a choice. And that choice is a possible choice. It doesn't mean it's the only choice, because God is not like that. God is about love and not making you suffer beyond comprehension. So God offers those that want to be loving and kind and considerate, and not sitting there tearing each other down, their fellow Christians or fellow persons. If they don't fit with what you understand to be the truth, let them go. For those people that I knew years ago or whatever ago that don't want to, even my own sister doesn't want to, hear Orange Man is just like hand in my face. I love her. I still stay in communication because, like I did with my parents to the end. Because what does it say in the scriptures? Honor thy mother and thy father. And that for me means my entire family. You don't cut them off because they don't see things the way you are. But I honor and respect their choices. And I only want, if they came to me in my mother and father's case, to understand where I was. After they saw how I was for decades, they wanted to understand it, because they couldn't understand how I could be constantly forgiving people that are constantly messing me over. And I explained it. And then they said, how do I become the way you are? And I explained how to do that. And at the end, they did do it. And so then everything from then on, for all of the rest of their experience in this creation that's billions and trillions of years to go, will be now different. It enabled them to make a choice to not go there, to not experience that, to not have to go rise from the grave and blah, blah, walking around like a zombie, all of that stuff, no longer necessary. So it's to understand that there are two choices, not one. God does not give you, this is the only one, and you got to suffer like insanely terribly. No, God is about love. And if you're going to come and be as loving and as good of a person you can be, as I know you are, Tom, and all of the 17, all of the 16 other hosts are the same. On the envisioning we did, the freedom envisioning.
Mm-hmm.
What is that envisioning about? Freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And what does Galatians 1:2 say? Freedom. Through the gift of Christ, we are free, but not to take the yoke of slavery again. It says it. So we were offered a way to not take the slavery yoke again. If you want to choose to do that, that's up to you. You believe there's no way out of it, then it's so. But if you absolutely know that's not true, which I do, then it's not so. And you can make that choice, and that choice is out there, and it's for us to offer people those choices while there's some time to do our best.
Exactly. Thank you, Gene. You talked about so there's a quote I saw recently from an actor, from Timothy Chalamet. He actually plays a character called Tom in Interstellar. He's a younger man in that. He's now an adult, but he's a teenager in the film because it came out in 2014, so about 10 years ago, yeah. But I saw this quote of his just yesterday, and he says, life is coming from you, not at you. And it makes me think of those things you've just discussed in terms of choosing timelines. Like, if people are adamant and they want to choose the A line and all that goes with that, then that's what they're going to get. But if you want to choose the God line, again, that's what you're going to get. That's what you get blessed with, and because we're projecting it, it's coming from us. So I wanted to bring that up during the show, but then when you talked about what you just spoken about, it seems to tie in nicely. And coming from an actor, from Interstellar, we talked a little. You mentioned about the railroad and the underground element, and I was asking about the monsters, etc. One thought that came to my mind was the Ingersoll Lockwood books, the time travel series about Baron Trump, and one of them is Baron Trump's amazing underground journey. I haven't actually read the books, but I like to kind of let people know that they're, be aware of it. I don't know if you've studied them at all, Gene, but I wonder if you've got any knowledge about the underground journey that Baron Trump, the character of Baron Trump, the time traveler, which seems like it was written about 100 years ago, is talking about. I'm assuming there must be some kind of revelation or connection with the DUMs and the tunnels and the network of all this transportation that humans on the surface nowadays don't really know about, but it's been going on for a long, long time. Yeah.
Yes. There are interconnections that are so vast. You look at the watch, and there's so much information in there. It's because it's a large amount of information. It would take several decodes to actually go through all of the details. It's so vast, but it is a very important book to read, and to, and the whole group. There's a series of books tied to that are important to understand.
Do we have any knowledge on who Ingersoll Lockwood is or was? I guess I should say is.
Yeah, I haven't been able to research that. It would be interesting to see who that is.
Okay. Yeah. I need to get those books. They've been part of this framework of everything that's been going on, but I should actually take the time to get them and read them. It's interesting how Ivanka, she did some tweets about.
I pulled it up on Duck here. Ingersoll Lockwood was a U.S. lawyer and writer from 1841 to 1918. He wrote children's books. He also, including the Baron Trump novels, plural, in which a dystopian kind of novel series, The Last President, a play of several nonfiction works. So That's just what I can get here. He kind of looks a lot like Mark Twain looking at him here, but it's
Yeah,
got,
I've seen pictures of him. He does look quite a character. And
yeah.
the interesting thing about it is with the numbers. So Ivanka, she did a series of photographs, I think on Twitter and Instagram, or one or t'other, of her in Paris and doing some quite deliberate photographs. And there's a book out there that looks a bit like Around the World in 80 Days, but it's another book with two women doing this race around the world. And the character that Ivanka looks like in these pictures, even her coat and everything is almost identical, except Ivanka's got blonde hair, but one of the characters in the other book has got brunette hair, dark hair. But it's interesting how all that ties in. And the thing with the numbers with Barron Trump, so Barron Trump, who's Donald's son now, his numbers, his name is Barron, and then Trump, that comes to 156 in numbers, which comes to 33. Tesla lived on the 33rd floor in the Tesla building, the New Yorker on 5th Avenue. Sorry, 8th Avenue. 8th Avenue is 125 time travel. But Barron Trump in the book series is with one R, and that comes to 138, which actually comes to Donald Trump. And they talk about this Barron Trump has a mentor in New York and it's called Don. And so, it seems like it's Barron Trump being referenced to Donald Trump, but the spelling of the two names could have an overlap, and it could actually be Donald Trump himself, described as, or disguised as Barron Trump. One thought with this, Gene, is the thing of future selves sharing information, sharing decodes, helping us decode things in the present. And I've been thinking quite a bit about that in recent days. Christopher Nolan just won the Academy Award for the Oscars, and it'd be interesting to see if that's maybe the last set of Oscars that we see in that format. Time will tell, but maybe, because he's been the elephant in the room. I think he's for sure a white hat director, and they never gave him the awards, but they gave him this one in 2024. But his film in 2020, Tenet, talked about lockdowns, talked about child's play, it talked about gold being moved around in aeroplanes, all the people wearing masks. But he introduced this concept of not time travel, but time inversion, time reversal, and the theme of being able to complete a task, a mission, maybe many years from now, and it looping back on ourselves. And it's got me thinking about maybe some of it. You mentioned, the 17 of us that were on the Blessed for Service show before Christmas, and others that are doing similar work. I wonder if, and the reason we felt, called to do this is like 2020, I just felt compelled. I got the gift of numbers and I had to speak up. I didn't know it would get to this, but I just had to say something. And I'm like, well, where are the numbers coming from? Where did I get this from? And I'm thinking maybe with yourself, where did you get your insights from? And I wonder if there is an element of perhaps a future version of ourselves helping us and leaving this trail of breadcrumbs or Easter eggs or information that we can use in the present, but somehow, and I don't fully understand it, it's more like a feeling of it. I don't understand all the mechanics of it, but a future self guiding us at this point and juncture in time for whatever reason. Why are we selected? Why are we chosen? Why are we called to do what we do right now? And I do think we're getting, for me, I feel like I'm being guided from angelics, from relatives that have passed on. But I also feel that there could be the possibility that some version of myself from the future is guiding me in my day-to-day mission that I'm doing now. And I feel that maybe others, maybe yourself, resonate with that thought. You may have a whole plethora of knowledge on that. I don't know. That's my feeling. That's my question.
So in actuality, for me, it's your higher self. all the way up, your soul self, your soul that's guiding you, along with angelics and others, and God if you're listening. And then it goes into a lot of things about that self is not limited by time at all. So you can see into the future, have knowledge of things coming. If somebody says an idea, let's do this or let's do that, I immediately see how that will affect the timeline and what the future will look like on that choice. If you do this, like you say, I'm going to move to, what do you think, Gene, if I were to move to Madrid? I can see how that would change. And I go, where in Madrid? So I can localize it. Then, okay, and do you have children, and how that would affect, and where you're going to buy your home, and where your children are going to go to school, and what kind of work you're going to do there. You could see as that is putting a more definitive information, how that selects of all the timelines of you going to Madrid. We're now centralizing it into one more and more narrow choices of how that will look. And so the same thing you're seeing with the Ingersoll Lockwood, where they're looking at how it would be if this. So you look at the travels and adventures of Little Baron Trump and his wonderful dog Bulger, and then also the extraordinary experiences of Little Captain Doblecop and Baron Trump's marvelous underground journey, 1900 of the last president, and I'm actually researched this. There's actually a website just now while you're talking, IngersollLockwood.com, in which it's all patriots, all, I think, retired military actually, that have put together this, all of the writings, but it's also a complete website. And so they said that, they have series of products and things. They have the U.S. Space Force's hiring symbol. All products and services we invest and support are made in America with pride. And they talk about criminal hacking and anything like that. They talk about their history, their namesake, Ingersoll Lockwood, and that they invest, fund, and license and develop and sell next generation technologies. It's veteran owned. Again, like I said, I was pretty sure it was veterans. And then they talk about how they work. And it's in a fascinating website. And it's IngersollLockwood.com. And then they have all of the books of Ingersoll Lockwood. And then if you go into their insights, they're looking at defending and extending life, clean H2O technology, in other words, water technology, like I was talking about Toyota and Tesla are now looking into, clean and nearly limitless energy supply systems, next generation technology, faster, more efficient, quantum encryption and cyber defense, secure communications, and education on American history and values, which is going back to what the KGB said, is the guy was saying, is you destroy the values of the people. You educate why it takes 20 to 30 years to destroy a country. And it's been so well done in the United States. We're 2 or 3 generations in now, where the American people no longer have their American patriotic values of pride in their country, or Christian, or any of those other values that the United States was founded on. They're completely gone. It's like Colonel McGregor was saying and Scott Ritter are saying, if we were to try to put boots on the ground in Ukraine against the Russian people, you're clueless, aren't you? Because the average American right now that's of a military age of serving in the military aren't capable of it. In the vast majority of the young men and women are not really capable. They think working hard is sitting in their basement playing video games, basically living in their parents' home, and working 8 or 9 hours doing digital stuff, which there's a call for that with the drones and all of that. But when you get to them to actually do hard work, like on a ship at sea, where you're working, they think that working a 12-hour day or a 15-hour day or a 16-hour day is hard. Yeah, it's hard. Not, but you get up in rank in the, like in submarines like I did, when you get higher rank, I had 3 hours of sleep a week. A week. All the rest was work. All of it. And I got 3 hours because they, by law, have to give me 20 minutes a day to eat. So I would skip 7 meals and 7 days of eating in a row, eat every 8th day, so that I could get 20 minutes sleep. And that was the majority of my sleep. The rest, I got 2 or 3 minutes here. They have no idea of what really, really seriously working, I mean, hard beyond what most people can even, it was shown to me when I went to retire. And there was a civilian that was ridiculous woman, indoctrinating us to how to adapt to civilian life. And she was clueless because she made a statement to all of us. And you're talking all submarine people that are retiring 20, 21 and a half years, 15, 18, 20 years at sea, in my case, 12 years underwater, not alone the sea time. And she's saying it's not fair. I'm getting half my pay for the rest of my life. First of all, I don't get half of all of the money I got paid. I don't get sub pay, sea pay, hazardous duty pay, all of the others. All I get is half my base pay. It's nowhere near what I used to make. But I said, you're looking in the wrong place, first of all. Look at Congress. They get all of it for one term. Not only that, if you were to take how many hours you will work, if you work from 18 to 65, I have already tripled you in 20 years. I have more than tripled the amount of time. I mean, actually working on my feet, on the job, working my hindsight off. Not just sitting there, just sitting down, doing stuff. I'm talking really, really hard work. And it's just where it got, especially when you're at that higher rank, it got to the point where if I make a wrong decision, it could mean 2 submarines get destroyed. We're being followed by a Charlie, and I figure this out, and we're getting in the point of clearing baffles, and I figure out if I don't catch they're doing a crazy Ivan, both submarines are gone. We collide, and you have a nuclear incident with 2 nuclear submarines on the bottom of the Atlantic or the Med. Oh my goodness, are retrievable too. Holy smoke, what an event that would be. So, you're looking at a level of responsibility and a level of work that this generation, I don't see the majority of the young men and women I meet have the capacity to get to that point in 10 or 20 years to be able to do that. They're so, again, it's this, what Ariel was posting, to have others risk themselves, but they are so into comfort that they do not comprehend what it's like to really, really have to work hard. And I mean, really put your life on the line and put everything you are into it day after day after day without one day off for 2 years at sea straight. I've been at sea for 2 years straight on one submarine. We pulled in for a few hours to load stores. You're not resting, you're loading stores. You're loading 90 days, stacking cans on the deck till you have to bend to walk down the passageways. You have to bend over because it's so deep. I mean, incredibly hard work, and it's just where we are today with the dumbing down of the American people and the softening up of the value systems of the farming and the ranchers and the cowboy kind of patriot, the way the U.S. was, is gone. The neocons have destroyed the value system, like Trump or Putin was saying, who's one of the alliance, that the American people, there is still a core of American people that have that value system, and they have families that have raised their children well, where they work hard. The children are raised on farms and ranches and in mechanics and all this. But the STEM, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education in the Western world doesn't exist. It's mostly gone. Why is it that Russia, it's now been admitted in articles by Western media, they can out-manufacture by over 3 times in arms, in ammunition, in tanks, in everything. The entire Western world combined by over 3 times. They're the strongest military by over 3 times on Earth. And you're going to send boots on the ground into Ukraine? You're out of your mind, because they will destroy all of the Western military. They will not just denazi Ukraine. They will denazi and demilitarize and deindustrialize the entire Western world. What we just saw happen in Germany with all of their industry going to China and going to India and going to places where they can get it cheap without the strong regulations, they're gone. Their factories are still standing. The factories here, where I grew up, there were steel mills and you don't have those. Those are torn down now. They're gone. The big, huge rubber plants like Gates Rubber and all these, they're gone. Those are townhouses there now. All of these huge industries that the United States had for World War II to be able to gear up to do World War II, in the matter of a few weeks, they don't exist. We don't have them. They're bringing people back from retirement to build Patriot missile systems. It's, to build the Stinger missiles. They don't have the knowledge in this generation anymore. It is gone. The knowledge of how to do these things is gone. The ability to do them is gone. It's an entirely different, these generations are an entirely different people. They have destroyed the values and the people themselves. The people themselves, I'm not saying it's 100% or even above 80%, but it's a large percentage of young men and women that really do not understand life. They really do not have values and respect for each other, for themselves even. They're doing things to their bodies and doing things, all this gender identity stuff and all of this stuff. They're just giving God the middle finger. They're doing things of destroying their body that God gave them in ways that I could not have ever believed when I was young growing up would be even they don't push back on the school system at all for offering these ideas up. It's blatant for generations, the school system, and the parents don't get involved in what's going on in the school systems, in the churches too. You go to church, I don't go, because you listen to the pushing the agenda during the 19 situation and all that, through the church, through the school. What a bunch of garbage. And the parents aren't getting involved. They take their children there. My church is God in nature, which where God resides, and within me. Like the Shaolin said, you can feel it within yourself. So, to have values to get your children into martial arts is one way. And I mean the real thing. I don't mean some dojo you get a black belt in 3 years. Not possible. You're not a black belt and 8 years old in 3 years, or you're even at 30 years old. The very fastest I could imagine it being done in the real thing is 8 years. If you really put it, work in on it every single day, 2-3 hours every day, like I did at sea even, I would be sitting in stances with my leg up on a machine to stretch, all kinds of doing push-ups, hanging upside down, doing sit-ups when I come down the ladders, using my time as efficiently as I could. I was training every single day, even when I'm at sea for 2 years. I had a board and I'd be punching the board because I broke the rail for loading the gimbal assembly up a level missile compartment. Stop busting my submarine! It's like, okay, I won't hit your submarine anymore. So it's like, after 2 years of pounding it, got crystalline fractional on it and broke. It's like, oh well. So I got a board. But it's like, to have that kind of dedication and things, they're addicts. The younger generation are addicts. They're addicted to pleasure, whether it's gaming or hooky smoky stuff or whatever it is. They no longer have a strong sense of values, a respect for each other and for their own body. So sorry to soapbox, but it's just so sad and tragic for me to see. And, every once in a while, like, when I was in the DMV, That's why everybody started talking and laughing. There was a African American couple and this young girl that was probably 3 years old looking up at me. She's really cute. Look, I couldn't help myself. I go, "Hi, young lady. What's your name?" She didn't say a word. I said, "Oh, I see your parents have raised you well, not to talk to strangers." Everybody started talking and laughing. But it was just rare to see. Like in my banking institution, I had a guy with he stopped at the doors and before the doors opened, and he hugged his son to see the love, real love, and then his son, talked a little bit while they're in line, and he was talking about sharing it, what his son's doing in school and getting involved. And I go, they were in line behind me when they got in, and I said to the young man, the son, "You should be very glad that you have such a good father that loves you and is instilling values that will stand in your stead all your life. You're going to be a fine young man because you have a true father. You have a true man as your father who is instilling values in you that will be the core of who you are all your lifetime." And you could see the father's chest come out because he had a right to be proud of himself. He's raising a fine young man. How often do you see that the kids aren't running rampant all over the place, yelling and screaming and knocking stuff over and all of this? That's an exception where you see fine children being raised. They're fine children because they're being raised by parents with true values. So that's my soapbox. I have to do it. I'm sorry, but I have to. It's just, I have to say what it is. It's my nature. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Gene, and thank you for your soapbox. It's necessary. I guess I'm kind of in the middle generation of I can remember some of the things you've discussed, and I can see what's going on now. And I guess I'm in that kind of middle category, and I can relate. And I have to take my hat off to you for the work you did on the submarine and the number of hours you worked. That made my eyes water listening to that. I mean, I don't know how. I guess when necessity is the mother of all invention, and you had to do that. But to live on 3 hours sleep a week, I don't know how you did that. So thank you. Yeah, that's incredible.
You develop techniques like never stopping when you're walking. You walk in little circles. I was topside watch early in my career. We were in the dry dock in Japan, in Yokosuka. And I got to the end and I stopped to turn around and I almost fell over the side. It was like 3 a.m. I'm like, oh no, do a little tight circle. Then I learned to take a needle and bury it in the palm of my hand up into the bone and just make it hurt so much that I would stay awake. Another thing, and I used to drink 3 to 4 pots of coffee a day to the point I didn't realize, but I poisoned myself. I got to the point I had migraines to where I'd go blind and deaf, and I didn't realize it when I got retired and I quit drinking coffee because I don't really like it. And I just needed the caffeine, and then I used my GI Bill to go get working on an engineering degree with it. And during finals, I went into the cafeteria and got a cup of coffee because I was doing those kind of hours again. And I didn't even make it to the door of the cafeteria. 2 minutes drank the coffee, and I had the blinding lights and ringing, and it's like, oh, it was the coffee. So lots of coffee, lots of standing up. Part of it helped with my martial arts of being able, instead of sitting down on a chair, I would sit in a kippadashi, a horse stance, or a zenkusudashi, like a samurai sword stance, or these different stances for 12 hours straight on watch, instead of sitting down. Or then I would alternate with my left foot up over my head on top of a piece of gear, standing on one foot, even on the surface, if we're on the surface and the ship is moving all over the place. So I have to exercise balance and all kinds of things. So you learn techniques to do it and all kinds of things. Plus the demands on your mind are so vast, you don't get bored normally, because the amount of things you're having to keep track and displays and people, levels of people, when you're at high rank and talking to like 8 or 9 or 10 people and having 2 different headsets, one on your left ear, one on your right ear, it's so demanding. You normally don't just get tired. There's times on SSBNs when you're trying to stay away out in the middle of nowhere from everybody just to launch missiles. It can get incredibly boring, and then it gets tough. And so I use those techniques of martial arts stances and, dynamic tension. My upper body and my legs were massive because I'd sit there and do dynamic tension for an hour or two with this, in this stance and then this stance. And then, so you learn all kinds that actually techniques that help get you stronger and healthier at the same time. So it's actually in some ways advantageous. Of course, the coffee isn't advantageous, as I found out the hard way, but the rest was. And it is, a unique experience. That's why Brothers in Arms, as the song goes. I love the one by Judy Collins is good, but my favorite one is, who did the Sultans of Swing? I can't remember the group right now.
Geiger Straits did Brothers in Arms album. I don't know if
Brothers in Arms, yeah. From the Brothers in Arms, the group that did that does the very best rendition of Brothers in Arms from the Brothers in Arms album. And their video on that is phenomenal. So you get friends that you make that have stood beside you when you're in a battle scenario situation, that you have a bond, that a brotherhood of brothers in arms that goes beyond what most people could understand. So I've had people that have found me after I'm retired for 30 years, and they heard my voice and they go, I know who that is. And they contacted me and said, it is the same, you that I know from before. And I go, yeah, it is. And together, and they go, you haven't changed at all. You're still the same. And so, the nature of who we are doesn't change. And you get those core values, you can keep them for your entire life, and they will stand in your stead, and they will help you survive things the average person cannot survive. You have a strength of will, a strength of character, a strength of mind, spirit, and body that will see you through times that an average person won't make it. They're not going to make it. So I have no regrets for doing it, not one single thing. I was forced to go in due to the draft of the lottery at the time during Vietnam. I would not change one single thing I ever did, even the submarines I was sent to, the certain ones that were some of the worst and some of the best. I've done the best ones, and I've probably been on one of the worst ones, where after I left, they wound up decommissioning that submarine because it ran head on into a seamount, because the captain was kind of crazy. So to put it mildly, it was a rugged submarine. It was an interesting one. It was the most interesting one. Those hard things are sometimes the most interesting things. And it opened my eyes to the fact that the Cold War was a fraud. No such thing. Never happened. It was the neocons taking over Russia. So the Satanists. And then they kicked them out of there. And so it was just fascinating to see how the information was flowing between the U.S. High Command and the Soviet High Command. Free flowed. I mean, just completely free flow. They're getting information. They're getting, like Kissinger went there because their missiles, their ICBMs, when they first got them, couldn't hit the broadside of a state. Not a bard, a state. They were so inaccurate. So Kissinger negotiated to get them lathes to make the bearings very, very accurate for their guidance systems, so that they could have the accuracy, so that they were a viable threat. It's like what Stokely Carmichael said at I believe it was at Kent State, where he said, something is happening here, but you don't know what it is, from the Bob Dylan song. Pressure, and he talked about pressure from above and pressure from below. And so this, pressure from below is all of what we see now with the Antifa and BLM and all of this. But pressure from above means a worthy adversary, a threat, the Soviet Union. Well, that went away. So what did they do? They replaced it with terrorism, 911. So you get all this. This is a terrorist. We're going to take out all of these countries because they're terrorist states. And they keep going, Russia, Russia, Russia. Again, back to Bob Dylan. He said, I've learned to hate the Russians. Been taught to. We don't know why. We're just taught in school and by our parents and everything. You just hate them. We don't know anything about them. But, that's why Tucker went there and showed what the people are really like and showed what their lives are like and talked to the leadership. And what are they really? They are pretty much, for the average person in my era and my time, and you too, Tom, they're like us. They're not much different. They have the same, they want to live their life, have their families, take care of their families, and, have their country and their values and not have people messing with them. That's pretty much a human thing. So same thing with the Gaza. They have pretty much the same situation, and they're being demonized. So it's this demonization, the same thing they did to Eric Bushnell. They demonized him immediately. Oh, he was this. No, he was not that. But they have to make that the good people that gave their lives into monsters. It's what the Satanists do. It's called projection.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. Well, Gene, it's been it's been an absolute pleasure. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show, but I think today was just really just fantastic.
I went a little longer because I think what we are talking about needs to be talked about and said. So thank you, Tom.
I think it does. I think it does. It's been fascinating. It's been a real blessing and pleasure. And I can speak for my audience. They'll love, or will have loved the show now that they've seen it. So yeah.
It's always an honor, and I always look forward to being on your platform, Tom, and talking with you, because you bring out things that need to be said that are very important. So thank you so much, Tom, for having me back.
Pleasure, Gene. Always welcome. I'll speak to you again.
Yeah. Thank you, Tom. God bless you, and God bless each and every one of you out there. Godspeed.
God bless. Godspeed. Thanks, Gene. Take care. Bye.